Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of my Ferrari Road to Glory. We only have a handful of races left now as this is round 17 of 23 as we arrive for the Japanese Grand Prix, guys. One of my favourite tracks on the entire calendar. I can't wait to get started. Before we jump into it, guys, as always, if you haven't seen the last episode, spoiler warning ahead. Go check it out, link in the top right, I believe for the Singapore Grand Prix. And yeah, we're going to get into today's video, guys, and kick this off with, first off, engine updates. So we are very marginal. I think we are going to have to take a grid penalty at some point in the final few races. I'm trying to basically delay it because I think if we look at the standings in just a little bit, there's a chance I might be able to win the title a couple of races ahead of time and hopefully take the penalty after we've won the title. So as you can see, we have a pretty healthy margin in the Drivers' Championship. The Constructors also looking pretty good, but that's going to be harder to secure earlier because it's a two-car calculation. But for the drivers, we can win that possibly with 2 races to spare, depending on how these next 2 races go. So in the meantime, we have updates, we have tyre blankets, we have ECU, we have rotor speed, and we also have an upgrade for the durability on the control electronics. So a pretty full set, and we're going to add another one to that by working on the aerodynamics, and we're going to purchase the front wing gurney flap for drag reduction. That's going to arrive after the next race in Qatar. So for now, this weekend, this is all we have as we look to hopefully have another strong race overall. So the forecast is dry, no rain. We've had a bit of rain recently in the last few races, quite frequently, but this one is going to be completely bone dry. And with that, we look at the performance chart. You can see we won the last race in Singapore. We had a bit of a rough time in Monza after team's home race, but for the most part, we've either won the race or we've DNF'd literally all season long. But we've been very strong and very competitive, and still there's a lot of races to go and a couple of sprints as well, which could be key in the title fight. Now we head into practice and we're going to go through the race runs as I like to do, basically pushing flat out as if it were a race, trying to see exactly what a realistic fuel load calculation is going to be. We had a bit of a moment at the final chicane, but for the most part we've got a decent baseline down, and you can see tyre wear is on the money. Fuel also not too shabby. This track is a bit of a fuel drinker, so we're going to have to bear that in mind for the race, but for the most part, smooth session. P16 for us, a little bit off the pace. Sounds like, or seems like, the AI are a bit stronger here, but overall we pick up a decent haul of points, and we can bring our tally up to over 2k, and hopefully work with these discounts to bring some more updates to try and secure those championships that we're trying to win, and essentially bring Ferrari back to glory. Because if we win the Constructors, we've achieved the challenge of bringing the team back to the top. So practice done, updates done, qualifying time, let's get to it. One of the best qualifyings of the season. I love Monaco because it's a thrill to get a really good lap hooked up there with the barriers, but this is an insane race circuit, and I think it's going to be a fun track to put the lap together. Visor down, let's get to it. On track then for our first timed lap in the qualifying session. Going through Spoon, we just pick up a bit of front wash and invalidate as we understeer off the track. So I'm actually going to pull over, and I've got just enough fuel and battery to probably go again. And you can see here we took it really slow in Sector 3, got the batteries recharged to about 90%, and we have enough fuel to go for another attempt. So we're going to send it. It was actually a really good lap. And at the exact same point on that next lap, we're about 600ths up. And now we find a whole chunk of time through Spoon, of course, where we ran wide on the previous lap. So now it's about nailing the chicane, because this has been an excellent lap so far. We've pretty much matched our previous one, and that was almost perfect. So very little time gain, which tells me we're already close to the limit of our pace. Through the final chicane, the Casio triangle now up to the line, keeping a bit of a tighter line as we open DRS, and we set a 1:25.269, second place provisionally for now, behind Lewis Hamilton, who set the benchmark. Now sectors 1 and 2 a little bit off the pace. Sector 3 is ours by quite some margin, but you can see Leclerc down in 8th, Verstappen down in 5th. So those are the guys we're looking out for, our title rivals, as we look to try and stick the car on pole. So let's get into it. Final qualifying lap of the day. I'm going to let you guys enjoy this one with engine sound, and yeah, just enjoy Ferrari around Suzuka, guys, and we'll get back to you after the lap. that was a really good lap. A couple of microscopic, tiny errors, which I think cost us pole position. Hamilton didn't improve on his final run. Nobody went quicker, so it was a chance for us to get pole, and we did improve fractionally, but it wasn't enough to get pole. So Hamilton P1 around Suzuka, and we'll take a front row start. Crucially, Verstappen and Leclerc's position unchanged compared to the midway point in the session. So Leclerc didn't really improve, Verstappen didn't really improve, and that means we are going to have the edge over our title rivals heading into the race. So a win would be massive for the championship. Either way, guys, qualifying done. Let's get into the race, into the main event, and let's see how things pan out for the Japanese Grand Prix.
The beloved Suzuka had a couple of unplanned years away from the calendar, but it's now back where it belongs, at the heart of the Formula One season. Welcome along to the Japanese Grand Prix. A lap of this historic racetrack covers 3.6 miles. It's the only time during the season that we race on a figure-of-8 circuit. And the drivers can expect some intense G-forces through the 18 corners on offer here as they experience some of the highest average apex speeds on the Formula One calendar. Keep an eye out for overtakes into the final chicane. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, and Martinez completes the front row. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Russell, Oscar Piastri, Verstappen, Norris, Fernando Alonso, Perez, Leclerc, Gasly, Ocon, Magnussen, Tsunoda, Stroll, Albon, Joe, Hulkenberg, Ricciardo, Bottas, and Logan Sargent. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. Anthony Davidson will be sharing his insight alongside me once again today. What should we be looking out for, Ant? So, let's briefly discuss Lewis Hamilton.
Well, it was a really impressive lap in qualifying to get pole position, but are they going to be able to hold on to the lead into the first corner with so many quick starters around them? And apart from that, keep an eye out for anyone getting a good launch from the midfield. You see it happen from time to time, and it can really throw a spanner into the races of the quicker cars and push them into a more risky strategy.
Main event time here for the Japanese Grand Prix. Front row start for us, second place behind Lewis Hamilton, who is on pole. We're going to try and usurp him. Hopefully we can try and get that win, and with only a few races to go now, this is round 17 of 23, a win here would really do wonders for the championship, especially with Leclerc very far down. That could be huge. So, for this one, we're going to talk about strategy. And now there's a few options. I've actually modified the original, which was a soft to medium strat. I'm going to go medium to hard. I might go soft later if the medium is better than expected, but we're going to run with this to start with. Hopefully it works out well. Fuel-wise, I'm running about 0.5. No big risk on fuel, although this track is a fuel drinker, but these simulations have been run based off practice and the race runs, so this should be good for us. So the key thing is to try and get Lewis, get P1 and manage the race. I think the pace is going to be pretty close throughout the field. It's been a close weekend so far, but either way, let's get that W and let's try and hopefully, possibly put a hand on the title. Now it does seem like Mercedes are going to be very strong, both their cars in the top 3. Of course, our other title rival, Verstappen, P5. Russell starting on softs, which we'll have to keep an eye out for. But the majority seem to be on medium. So let's get to it. Let's have some fun. Let's have a good race, clean race. Here we go. Lights on. Our starts haven't been great with these pedals in the Fanatec since I've returned to them. Not too bad. Got some wall spin, but luckily the AI got off to a pretty poor start themselves. Hamilton, though, covers me off and holds the lead of the race. Russell P3, Perez up to 5th, also on soft, so Piastri dropping away at the race start. Oh, back in there, getting a bit loose, mid-corner in between their sections. Let's see if we can try and keep the soft starting Russell at bay. Hamilton trying to make a run for it early on. Nice Degners. That gives us a bit of breathing room. Keen to see what the straight line speed looks like. Yellow flag. Possible contact or just slow cars behind. Hamilton's really going for this right now. This will be a real test. Here we go. Out of spoon. Will Russell get a run, or do we have enough straight line speed to contest? No, Russell's going for it. He's got a huge run, so I'm not even going to waste a lot of battery resource to fight that. He'll have the pace in this initial phase, so we'll trust Russell to get on with it and put some pressure on his teammate. Key thing now is to try and keep Verstappen behind, of course. As I mentioned, he's our title rival, so that's going to be the objective. And actually, Perez goes through on Max. So no team orders at Red Bull. Let's try and stick with these two here. Right, medium tyre now fully in working temperature. So we've managed to stick with Russell and Hamilton. Perez floating on the DRS detection point borders. But DRS will now be enabled, so we're going to be sitting in this train behind this Mercedes 1-2 for the time being. A good start to this race.
Okay, DRS will be enabled this lap. You can use it when you're within 1 second of the car ahead and in the DRS zone.
Very close to track limits there. That was about as close as you're going to get to crossing the white line. Going to use a bit of battery here to try and keep Perez out of DRS, as that is the detection point. Mid-apex through 130R pretty much. So Perez will not have DRS. But we have it on Russell and Hamilton, which is what we want. Russell starting to wobble a little bit in certain corners. So already I think the soft tyres starting to struggle a little bit. Still really having a chance to save battery. We're having to use it. The pace is very strong. Lewis is extremely fast and competitive here today. So we're really having to constantly push it. There's been no respite as of yet. This is where we're quite strong in the hairpin. We're able to get the car stopped and crucially drive off and get the power down super early and soon, which gives us a couple of tenths. Perez still hasn't got him on DRS, but he's still hanging on. The field spread is very close around it. Oh my god. Oof. Big snap. Good save. That's a big moment. I was feeling really comfortable there, but that's cost us dearly. Can we race back into the DRS range? We're going to have to use all the battery, I think. That was a critical error because Russell has just dropped out of Hamilton's DRS, so we would have had a chance there to put some pressure on and look for a move instead. The field's kind of spread out. We've also broken DRS on Perez. Our straight line speed is a little bit low. Even burning battery, we're not exactly gaining, but we're going to have to use everything here to get within Russell's range. Want to try and get back within and also recharge before he pits. I don't think we're going to get DRS. I'm using all the battery, but we're not going to be there. Russell's pulling away. One more lap, hopefully. Okay, this time we'll get it. Saved a little bit of battery throughout the lap, and we get to deploy it now here to make sure we stay within DRS range. So we've recovered. Now we'll see when George pits. Could well be this lap already, to be fair. Hamilton now starting to edge away. We are burning fuel. Hopefully we put a decent bit of it back in the pits, but for now we're going to go into hardcore battery and fuel recharge before Russell pits. Then we'll try and pull the pin again to try and chase Lewis. To be fair, I might follow Russell because he's actually on a bit of a better strategy now. He'll be on mediums in the next stint, whereas Lewis and I will be on hards. So if we can just stick with George, he might actually drag us back towards his teammate in the second half of the race. I can't save battery. I have to use it all on the straight to stick with Russell, which just isn't ideal. But at least we're managing fuel a little bit. Pace is really strong from Hamilton, really strong. I'm not sure if I could actually beat him. You know, my pace is kind of at the limit on these tyres right now. Russell pits. We'll go one more because we have DRS, but we will burn battery to push on this in lap.
Charles, Charles is in for his stop now.
That's good. Clears the pathways so we can box and not ruin our teammates' race. Going to use all the battery here. We're trying to push on this in lap as much as possible. We'll rejoin behind George. I just hope we're still able to hang on to his DRS. He'll be on mediums, which are warm. We're going to be on hards. I mean, maybe George is actually on hards. Maybe he went for those hards, but you never know. I'm expecting mediums. Here we go. On to the white wall tyre. 2.2. Good stop. Good stuff. Russell is in clean air. That was a very good in-lap though, and a very good stop. So I think we might have actually done a good job here of keeping ourselves in the mix. And this is also going to be an undercut on Hamilton to try and get us in the race. I think we're actually going to be close with George here.
Okay, stay clear of the white line on the exit. We'll receive a penalty for dangerous driving if you cross onto the track.
We've overcut him. Easy. Okay, so that's good. George will obviously be quicker than me, so he'll probably pass anyway, but less of a loss than I expected. But this is now an undercut on Lewis, so we have to push. I'm keen to see if Lewis goes for hards or softs on the next in. Russell's probably going to get me here straight away. I'm not going to waste any time battling. We'll show him the outside so he loses no time. And takes the race in line. Verstappen, Piastri pit, and so does Lewis. So Lewis responding. So this is it. We're going to see if... I don't think we're going to undercut him, but if we can just get back within his DRS, that would be huge. We're going to use battery here, which wasn't my intention, but I want to try and get a leapfrog on George. Murph is so quick on the straight. There's Hamilton, pit exit. Bit wide, Russell on the inside. Still, we've got marbles. Hamilton's on the cold tyre, so we have to go. He's on hard, so we have to go. Gasly out of the race. Looks like no safety car, though. Hamilton's managed this really well. Once again, using everything. I'm now out of deployment and battery. This probably will be the fast lap of the race. Russell will probably get me on the pit straight, which I'm not completely against, to be fair. I'm happy for George to get me, although he's had a poor exit, so I don't think he will anymore. Hamilton 1.5. Let's try and push in this first sector or so, and let's see if we can try and close in. Yeah, Lewis is too fast. This is the closest I'm going to get, 1.4. I'm out of battery here, so we have dropped George, but now that I'm out of charge, he'll get back in easily on this straight. So now it's probably likely that Russell will pass me on the pit straight, unless he has another bad exit out of the chicane. Really impressed. Hamilton, who is retiring into the season, is absolutely flying here in Japan. It really is hammer time now though. Lewis 2.6 and flying away up ahead. Really insane. Russell will go through here and we'll see what kind of pace he's got, but we're going to work now to finish second in this race. We've already got the fast lap of the race. Hopefully we keep it. Here goes George. Easy pass. Gets from the brakes for some reason there, but job done. Let's try to manage tyres and fuel here for a little bit. Using battery again. Russell slowly edging away. We've got a good bit of charge. Hamilton is having the race of a career. Absolutely just unreal how quick he's going. Lap after lap after lap after lap. He's just drilling in the times. Literally so consistent. I put my faith in George, who's won a couple of races this year and has been very quick, you know, to be quicker on the softer tyre both stints. And neither time has made it work. And obviously I'm not quick enough myself on the same compound as Lewis. So just fair play, GG's. We're now just managing this race and trying to wait for the right time for the P2 pass. Still got the fastest lap, which is good. Hopefully it stays that way. Fuel, no longer a concern. Ooh, Russell starting to wobble now. First signs of tyres giving out. We are both in the first phase. I mean, I'm on 40 on the left front, but those mediums are starting to give way. Russell's actually quicker than Lewis now. I know exactly where I want to be passing George. Let's see if we can execute it. Lap and a half to go. This is where I want the move. Just got to execute here. A bit wide, second apex a spoon. We can probably still try to pull this off. Want to try and pass George into the chicane. That's what we're looking for here. On the inside, straight through Apex Park, and we get DRS for the main straight. And that is a 10 out of 10 execution for P2. Now let's use the battery here and bring this one home. And here we go, last sector, last lap of the race. Fair play, Lewis delivers. What a drive, what a performance. We're going to finish in second place, using all the battery on the last lap here like everybody else. We'll take it, that's the best we could have hoped for, and we'll get the extra point.
Well done, mate. Well done. That's a great finish. You've really stepped up and achieved what we asked you to do today, so good job.
Another action-packed Japanese Grand Prix comes to an end, and a magnificent drive to take the win today. After an excellent performance at the Grand Prix, I'm sure there'll be plenty of celebrations tonight amongst the Mercedes team, and they certainly deserve it.
Well, there we go then. Results confirmed. We do indeed pick up the best lap of the race and the extra point, so happy days. The big thing to note is our title rivals, and Max Verstappen got P5, Charles Leclerc got P9, so that really does open things up in the championship. It's not quite a race win, but it will do very nicely. Hamilton with one of the best drivers of the season so far. Let's have a look though at the standings after that race. So, Drivers' Championship with 18, 19, 20, with 6 races to go, we have an 87 point lead over Verstappen and 101 point lead over our teammate Charles Leclerc. Hamilton still 7th after that win, but very close to P5. Then in the Constructors, 91 points is the difference as we head to the next one, and Mercedes with that 1-3 finish do pull out a bit of a gap to McLaren and do close the gap to Red Bull, but I think the Constructors isn't going to change much. AlphaTauri is still pointless after 17 rounds. Guys, that is going to be it for today's episode. Like and subscribe this video. Let's try and smash over 1,000 likes. Hopefully you enjoyed it. 6 more rounds to go before we close out the season. And yeah, hopefully we can secure both championships. As always, a big shout out to the channel members for supporting all the content and the videos. Check out the links down below, guys, to my channel sponsors. And finally, check out the 2 videos on the screen if you haven't seen them already. But cheers for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, and that's goodbye from me.